Hey, Don Schmidt, the Book Kahuna, coming at you with today's publishing tip for the day. And today's publishing tip is all about choices and decisions and historical perspectives on those choices and decisions and how they have impacted thousands, millions of people over the course of time. Now, I'm doing this video because tomorrow is, or actually in some time zones today, is April 9th, 2015. April 9th, 2015 is 150 years to the day from April 9th, 1865. April 9th, 1865, Robert E. Lee offered the surrender of the Army of Northern Virginia to Ulysses S. Grant, the commander of the Army of the Potomac. And while he was traveling with the Army of the Potomac, but he was actually commander of all of the Union armies. And George Meade was the commander of the Army of the Potomac. But Lee surrendered to Grant at Appomattox Courthouse in Virginia, thus ending the American Civil War, which had cost over 600,000 lives. Now, in retrospect, 600,000 lives, all of them are counted because they're all Americans. Confederate States, the Union, they're all Americans who were killed. No matter what, the country did not dissolve, and all of the people who were killed in the Civil War were Americans. Now, that being said, in the early part of the Civil War, when the firing on Fort Sumter first occurred, the Union Army needed a commander. And Abraham Lincoln went to who he thought would be the ablest commander who could end this rebellion quickly and keep the loss of life to a minimum. That commander was Robert E. Lee. Robert E. Lee was offered command of all the Union armies by Abraham Lincoln. Lee thought about it, but would not take up arms against his home state of Virginia. And when Virginia seceded from the Union, Lee went with Virginia to the Confederate States and was offered a command position in the Confederate Army. Now, had things gone differently, Robert E. Lee might have been the one who shortened the Civil War and made sure that we didn't lose, or as a country, we didn't lose 600,000 lives, because it took Lincoln so long to find the right commander who could end the war. When he finally found Grant, that hundreds of thousands of lives had already been lost. It's interesting to see how the fabric of history plays into everything that occurs over time. And what this leaves me with is a feeling that any decision that you make, though it might be the wrong decision in your life or your business or your entrepreneurial activities, it could turn out right. It could turn out the way that it's supposed to turn out. And that's something that you can only take and know as you're going through the situation. But when you make the decision, the only thing you can do is take that decision and run as hard as you can in the direction that you've chosen. Just do the best job that you can. And that's what Robert E. Lee did. For 4 years, he had the Union armies chasing him all over Virginia, and he was turning and beating them, and invaded the North twice, and he was pretty much the main reason why the South was able to continue the war for as long as they did, because his troops loved him, and he was a very skilled commander in both attack and on the defense. Don Schmitt, the Book Kahuna, remembering 150 years ago the men who preserved the Union, freed the slaves, and made sure that we have the America that we have to this day. My great-grandfather was one of those guys. He was wounded at Fredericksburg badly, went deaf, and never returned to combat after that. So I'm thinking about my grandfather, who was my great-grandfather, who was my grandfather's grandfather, William Frank, thinking about him. So remember those guys from the Civil War. They fought a tough one, and they made it work for us, and it still works today. Don Schmitt, Book Kahuna. Till next time, bye-bye.